Welcome and thanks for joining us today. We're excited to have you join the COPC Quality Programs with High ROI session. It's great to have so many in attendance, and we hope that you are all safe and well. My name is James Camerari, Vice President of North American Sales at COPC, and I will serve today as our session host. I'd like to start by introducing two of my colleagues and veteran COPC consultants that will be leading today's event. First, Gina Speakman, COPC Best Practices Consultant. She also happens to be our Senior Product Lead for the Reveal CX Quality Platform. And Cindy Edwards, Director of North American Consulting, who offers 25 years as a customer experience professional and has been with COPC for the last 15 years. Both Cindy and Gina bring many years of experience on the client, outsource, and consultancy sides of our industry, and are also responsible for leading performance improvement consulting engagements and for the delivery of many of our best practice training classes. The three of us are glad to be here with you all today. As some of you may be familiar with COPC, I'll just take a few quick moments to introduce our organization. Next slide, please. As our chairman, there we go. As our chairman and founder, Cliff Moore, is quoted here, we are relentlessly focused on performance improvement for operations that support the customer experience. This is all we do. To expand upon that just a bit, next slide, please. We are a consulting firm that's been around since the mid-90s. We developed a performance management system and quality management framework, as many of you know, as referred to as the COPC Customer Experience Standard, to which many high-performing organizations follow, are compliant with, or even become certified. In terms of our solutions, we provide customer experience strategy and optimization consulting, which again focuses on performance improvement, customer experience training, and certification. Some of the largest and most successful organizations use us to help guide them in driving performance. A couple of quick housekeeping items. During the session, the attendees will be muted, but we'll be able to submit questions. So see the Q&A button at the bottom of the screen. Our 1 hour agenda will include a 10 to 15 minute session after the presentation in which to field these questions. So feel free to submit as we go. And then we'll close it out with a short poll for feedback purposes. Please take a moment to respond. That'll help us quite a bit. Okay, and with all that said, I'd like to hand it off to Gina Speakman to get us started. Gina?
Thank you, James. Thank you all for joining. We're going to share, today we're going to share 4 key practices that drive improvements not only in our quality program, but across the entire organization. COPC has implemented these changes with clients who transform their quality program by improving their customer experience, increasing performance improvement, and driving costs down through increased efficiency. Our discussion today will begin with measuring business level performance and how that approach can give you a larger return. Then we'll share why it's important to leverage quality as your listening post, what that means, and how it's done effectively. Cindy will then demonstrate how to identify key drivers of desired business results and how to measure quality to ensure that we get an accurate view of performance. What's the first thing that comes to mind when I say quality? Typically, we hear quality monitoring, we think monitoring agents, which is partially correct. Monitoring agents is one important measurement of quality. Today, we'd like to shift that thinking and illustrate how quality can become a high return keystone process within your business. A successful quality program needs to do more than monitor transactions. It also needs to help your organization capitalize on the full potential of your customer experience data and the insights that we can gain from this window into our customer's experience. With this in mind, the primary purpose of a quality program is to identify systemic business level issues and then take action to improve them. A secondary purpose is to gather valuable business information, which we call business intelligence, that all parts of the organization can leverage to make improvements with. And tertiary to an effective quality program is providing staff feedback to improve performance and ensure a consistent customer experience. A quality program that's designed and executed correctly can be one of the best and most valuable processes for driving performance improvement. Today we'll present how you can achieve this by focusing on 4 of the 7 what we would call key fundamental quality processes that can bring you a higher return. Business level process, listening to calls from the customer's perspective for both business insights and customer feedback, understanding key drivers and implementing quality processes based on these key drivers, measuring quality to accurately reflect performance. In our future webinar, Cindy and I will present the other 3 areas that we've identified here: how to effectively execute sampling and calibration approaches, providing robust reporting and actionable data to operations, and ensuring that the tools are bringing these best practices to life. So let's discuss the foundation of this approach to see how it can transform your quality program. Measuring business level performance is the foundation to driving the kind of improvements we'll be sharing with you today. A business level approach means focusing on all issues that impact performance, not just those that an agent can control. To illustrate why this shift is transformative, we compare what we typically see to what gives our clients the greatest return. What we typically see is a tremendous amount of energy, money, resources, and quite candidly, a lot of heart trying to drive change one agent at a time. Most traditional quality programs are designed and focused almost exclusively on agent level performance. In other words, we're assessing and trying to figure out what the agent did right, what they did wrong for each individual transaction. Taking this approach means that when a transaction fails, the majority of the time our focus is on fixing the agent. Conversely, even if the issue is not resolved from the customer's perspective, but the agent does everything right, it's often scored as a pass, and we conclude that the customer experience is positive. Of course, this is not always an accurate reflection of the customer's experience, and it results in a failure to understand the business-related reasons for the error, which are often outside of the agent's control. We've called out some of these types of business level errors here. For example, the process or policy is confusing, updates and changes to the knowledge base were not communicated timely or even accurately. None of these are agent controllable errors. So while coaching agents on their errors is appropriate, COPC finds that this is not the ultimate method for improving quality across the business. The method should be one that captures all issues. On the left, we see what is controllable by the agent: their behavior, skills, communication style, even their frustration, which is really only part of what impacts our customer's experience. On the right, we see everything that affects the entire customer experience. It's important to remember that everything a company does, decisions, activities, processes, systems, agent ability, it all affects the customer's experience. And all of these issues should be captured through the quality process, not just agent-related issues. However, what we find are that these non-agent issues are rarely captured through the monitoring process. This is one of the reasons we often see quality results that are not correlated with customer satisfaction results or other key business metrics. Since the business level approach captures all issues, how would we monitor transactions with this approach? To focus on business level results, we need 2 distinct processes: the business level and agent level monitoring. Although they're focused on different things, they're very much aligned. The approach at the top is the business level monitoring. Focusing at the business level means we're focused at the higher level overall performance. In this illustration, that would mean sales or all of the customer support. With business level monitoring, the quality team monitors a random sample of transactions at the program level, meaning that we would monitor 300 transactions for one program per month. This approach focuses on identifying those issues that cut across the organization, and it involves monitoring a statistically valid sample of transactions for the business or the program, and that we want to make sure that we're capturing all issues that are impacting the performance. So when you're conducting business level monitoring, you're focused on monitoring a sample of the population and not each and every single agent, which leads us to agent level monitoring. here at the bottom of the screen here. Agent level monitoring should be focused on specific number of transactions at the agent level, meaning this monitoring is providing coaching on an individual basis to fix errors within agent control. For example, we would monitor 4 monitorings per agent per month. When we do this, we would be focusing on many agents with the goal of assessing and improving performance where needed. Analysis after analysis shows us that this strategy seldom makes rapid or significant improvements. Our industry is one of the very few industries who drive quality by trying to fix individuals instead of trying to fix the problems that impede performance improvement. It is statistically proven 75% of the time the issue is not agent controllable. The takeaway here is if we want significant improvements, we need to focus on the larger issues and really focus at what our customers need and desire from us. What kind of high-level returns do we see in organizations that make this shift to the business level approach? Here's an example of how a COPC client transformed their quality program by incorporating this approach. The graph depicts how they improved key driver performance. When we look at the baseline of their key drivers of customer satisfaction, the ability to provide the customer with accurate information, we see in the lower left-hand corner 20% accuracy level. The arrow indicates where the actions were implemented at the point of implementation. So through identification of key drivers of what mattered most to their customer, we were able to identify actionable data and implement change that drove improvement in the right direction. We start to see a rapid recovery within 2 months. As we continue to drive improvement in these customer affecting key drivers, we would also expect to see improvement in customer satisfaction, which is what happened. We saw dramatic improvement in customer satisfaction and customer dissatisfaction. If we start from the left-hand side, we see customer satisfaction and dissatisfaction turned upside down. The blue customer, which is the customer satisfaction line, is going down and it should be going up. And the purple line, which is the dissatisfaction, should be going down, but it's headed up. And that's where we see it's being turned upside down. However, after we went in and changed their approach to business level approach, this client saw a 30% increase in customer satisfaction while cutting dissatisfaction in half. We achieved this by aligning the quality forms with key drivers and determined that the primary issue impacting customer satisfaction was not providing accurate information. Through the quality process, we were able to uncover the systemic issues causing this problem and then implement actions to solve it. These actions involved several different components. 2 main components were the knowledge-based changes that we made and then center-wide retraining. Once the company knew what their actual performance was and how the systemic issues were impacting that performance, then we were able to quickly turn around the performance. And this is a nice example of how using the business level approach paid off dramatically by increasing both customer satisfaction and dissatisfaction performance. To ensure that your organization can also drive the greatest performance improvement, let's think about what the quality process needs to focus on in addition to customer satisfaction. In our experience working with high-performing organizations with the greatest performance improvement focus on how the business is performing overall. One important takeaway from this part of the discussion is make sure your quality process includes all of these areas of the business: customer satisfaction, service, sales, compliance, efficiency, and cost. Quality programs should be able to help us understand the answers to the questions that you see listed here, so the business can make smart decisions. These are just a few of the many examples a good quality process can track and resolve if we're focused on business level results. Another way to access these answers is also through gathering business intelligence. With the business level approach, your organization has the capability to transform your quality program into a business intelligence powerhouse. Meaning, when quality processes include business intelligence design, we can drive improvements inside and outside operations, including recruiting and hiring, marketing, and development. When we think about the company's front line or front stage, it really provides us with the best window into what's happening with our customers. What we typically see is the access to this invaluable insight is highly underutilized. If we think about how many calls your organization listens to, whether it's 100 or 1,000 a month, it's an opportunity to capture and leverage insights about the customer experience. It's the data that is coming directly from the source, our customers. So for the quality team, this goes beyond scoring typical monitoring attributes like, did the agent provide accurate information? It's about capturing business level data that is, for example, what are we selling? How are we selling? Why are we selling? And how effective is a recent marketing or ad campaign? Could this customer touch have been avoided? We can capture this type of data on an ongoing basis or ad hoc as needed. The important thing to remember is that quality can feed this kind of data back to many parts of our business, whether it's marketing, sales, or engineering. Optimizing this information can be a strategic conduit for streamlining decision-making in terms of how our company reacts to your customers and how your customers experience your company. With that, let's look at how to design effective business intelligence. This client wanted to create a business intelligence attribute to help them identify what is triggering the customer to pick up the phone versus using self-service. We designed and added a business intelligence question to the evaluation form to identify all the reasons customers would use phone and not self-service. And we drilled down by asking our quality analyst evaluators, could this call have been avoided? If the call could have been avoided, then evaluators would identify, as you see here, the reasons that customers contacted support. Capturing this information should not impact the measurement of the transaction between the agent and the customer. As you see here, scoring the business intelligence when we clicked on the red did not impact the evaluation score across the bottom in the green. So it's important to the design that we are identifying the causal factors. When we can identify the reason or causal factors during the evaluation process, it makes it more efficient to identify where we need to take action. Here we see the evaluator can identify specific reasons customers did not use the channel. This design approach captures information from the customer interactions that can then be leveraged by all parts of the organization. What would our output of this data look like? This is a Pareto chart illustrating one way to look at business intelligence data. Again, this is outside the measurement of the critical impacting errors. We'll look at first the calls that could have been avoided. If we look at the column or bar to the far left, our greatest opportunity to avoid calls in the future is to drive customers to another channel. When we drill down into this first column, we can see what triggered customers to not use another channel. If the call could have been handled in another channel, why wasn't it? We see in the first column on the left, the greatest impact for this decision was that our customers were not even aware that they had another choice. If customers then did not know that we had a self-service channel, then did our agents try to educate them so in the future they would go to the self-service? We identified in the far left column that our agents are not promoting the self-service choice, even after they've learned that our customers had no idea that it existed. This output illustrates the depth and breadth of information that can be obtained and used at different levels of the analysis. Again, the goal being is to use quality as listening posts to drive improvements across the entire organization. This is just one example of how shifting to the business level approach and using quality as a listening post is a robust and efficient way to achieve your performance objectives. To successfully achieve your objectives, it's also very important to understand what matters most to your customers, which Cindy will now share how that's done.
Hello, I'm Cindy Edwards. At the heart of a high-performing quality program, we recommend a really keen focus on the things that matter most to your customers and your business. So to drive improvements, it is imperative to understand what's really important to our stakeholders. Our stakeholders are our customers, or those managing our business, and the business's adherence to compliance requirements. So quality should be measured from their perspectives. Our customers are those who, of course, consume our goods and or services. And really what's most important to them is getting their issue resolved accurately with a key focus on resolution. Our business stakeholders are focused on balancing service, quality, cost, and revenue performance while trying to adhere to business policies. Our compliance stakeholders within the business are focused on customer privacy and following laws and regulations. Therefore, every quality form should possess the attributes that address what's important to these stakeholders. And as Gina indicated, business level monitoring is really a change in mindset because it measures quality from these three stakeholders' perspectives. So how do we determine what attributes should be on the quality form? Well, the first thing we advise our clients to do is conduct an analysis to understand what's important to each of these key stakeholders. This is typically what we refer to as a key driver survey. The goal of this survey is to identify the attributes that are really important and ensure these are included then on the quality form. To do this, I'd just like to tell you a quick story. It was my first week on the job at a third-party provider, and we were taking a tour of the production floor. I was asking the gentleman giving me the tour a million questions when I landed on a discussion around their quality approach. I asked whether their quality form was correlated to their CSAT performance, and I got a blank stare. Then I asked him if they had ever conducted a key driver survey and received another blank stare. A month later, I had a 35-question survey developed, filled with attributes about the business, which impacted our customers, and then arranged to substitute the next month's regular CSAT survey with this new key driver survey. This survey asked the customers to rate their level of satisfaction with each of the 35 attributes and the level of importance each attribute had to them. During the month it was launched, we received over 300 responses, and we were really excited to analyze the results. Once the analysis was completed, we learned that 5 of the 35 attributes held the most importance to our customers. We then put those 5 attributes on our monitoring form in the customer critical section, and we put them on our everyday CSAT survey. As we worked to reduce the errors made on these 5 attributes, we also kept an eye on our CSAT results, and we watched them start to increase. This was a real win for our customers because we were now focused on improving what was really important to them. Another added benefit was that we learned the speed in which we responded to our customers' inquiries had lower importance than resolution. We discussed this with our business owners, and they agreed to change their service level target from 80-30, that's 80% of the calls answered in 30 seconds, to 80-60 without experiencing any degradation in CSAT. This was a win for our business and saved us a lot of money. Although the best way to understand key drivers of customer satisfaction is by doing this survey, we also know it isn't always feasible. And that could be because of budgetary concerns, or your client just won't allow you to do it, or maybe other reasons. If that's the case, based on our experience conducting many of these surveys, the 6 attributes listed here are quite often proven to be the most significant drivers of satisfaction and dissatisfaction. It's important to understand first the difference between satisfiers and dissatisfiers. So let's not confuse these terms with satisfaction and dissatisfaction. Satisfiers are those attributes where more is better, meaning that the harder we work to realize them, the higher the customer satisfaction will be. These attributes drive satisfaction up. Let's consider issue resolution for a minute. We find this to be very important to our customers. Therefore, if we work hard to achieve high issue resolution performance, that will result in higher CSAT. We should see a positive relationship between these 2 metrics. Dissatisfiers are those attributes where we need to kind of meet that minimum expectation our customers have, or what we would call the sweet spot. Let's take courtesy as an example. Our customers expect our agents to be courteous. Working with our agents to be more and more courteous is not going to drive up satisfaction. In fact, the harder they work at it, it may come across as ingenuine and result in dissatisfaction. Therefore, we really need to understand where that sweet spot is and work to achieve that minimum customer expectation. Once we've done that, don't continue to try to improve that any further. Until you've had a chance to conduct a key driver survey of your own customers, you can apply these 6 to get you started. Let's look at an example. How do we know if we got it right? If the correct customer critical attributes have been defined, then results should correlate to the customer experience data. The table on the right shows the reasons for customer dissatisfaction based on the verbatims that we've received through the CSAT survey. These were sorted high to low. The table on the left is the quality data specific to the customer critical attributes and the percent of errors for each that our quality department has found. And as we can see, the quality department found that the highest percent of errors were because of not providing appropriate resolution to the customers. You can see correlated with that is the data received from the survey process where customer verbatims showed the same attribute causing the most dissatisfaction. The other attributes, like providing accurate information and offering appropriate empathy, are also supported by the verbatims regarding low tech ability and lack of ownership by the agents. This data indicates that this organization did a good job of identifying what's important to their customers, and they included those attributes in their quality form and their CSAT survey. This organization is getting a good return from their quality management approach, as it is predicting their CSAT performance. Let's now look at identifying these critical attributes. First, some terminology. We have been referring to these as attributes because they are essentially rows or elements on a quality form. When our agents do not do what's expected of a particular attribute or element or row, they make an error. These errors could be affecting a customer, the business, or compliance. Because of the importance of each of these, they are critical to these stakeholders. From here forward, we're going to refer to these as customer critical errors, business critical errors, and compliance critical errors. So what are each of these? Well, customer critical errors are those that affect the customer or cause the customer to have the contact the center again or lead to some sort of dissatisfaction or poor satisfaction. Business critical errors occur because of unnecessary cost to the business or loss of revenue to the business or to the client that we support. Compliance critical errors are any action or statement that we make that is against the law or a direct breach of critical client and government requirements or industry regulations. We've already talked about conducting the key driver survey to identify what's important to our key stakeholders. Let's talk about how we identify these attributes. We first have to identify the drivers of SAT and DISSAT. And from this, we prioritize these based on the biggest impact to our customers. Then we identify the causal factors for each and develop the quality form and coaching process. In addition to using the key driver survey information conducted with your business stakeholders, you can also identify the business critical attributes by reviewing the client contract and determining whether they have expectations for revenue or lead generation, goodwill, or customer assistance. You may also ask yourselves if the agents have to enforce any company policies. Following these would affect the business critical error score. Likewise, any other tasks the agents have to accomplish, like perhaps logging your transaction notes. You can identify compliance critical attributes by reviewing government level requirements that affect your business or any industry requirements, and asking your business stakeholders if they have any critical processes that must be enforced by the agents. In the healthcare industry, this is ripe with these, as there are many laws around protecting the customer's information, like HIPAA. The next topic we're going to talk about is how we measure quality. There are many different quality metrics. We're going to introduce what we consider to be the big three. Often when we first engage with clients, we find they are measuring an overall quality metric, and their quality form aligns with this, as the attributes they review typically follow the flow of the transaction type. For example, did they greet the customer appropriately? Did they gather the necessary information from the customer? Did they verify who they were interfacing with? Did they follow the correct probing expectations, etc., all the way through the transaction? When you look at this graph, this is an example of overall quality performance over a 12-month period. The goal or target was set at 85%. And this organization met that target half of the months. The October through December results, as you can see, performed better than the previous 5 months of performance. But what is this data telling us? It's telling me that of all the attributes on the quality form, this organization is performing in the low to mid 80% range. Does this give us any indication as to what we need to improve upon? As we already learned, is this data a good predictor of CSAT performance? Do we know how our business is performing? Sadly, we do not. Therefore, looking at the next graph, we can see our quality performance for customer critical, business critical, and compliance critical. Getting this level of granularity is invaluable. Looking at the month of December, we see that compliance was at 100%, business was at 84%, and customer was at a very low 77%. These results produced an average score of 87%, which we saw in the left-hand graph. Now, do we know how we are performing? Yes. Reporting on these three metrics tells us that we need to get focused on the customer critical attributes. I would suspect that this organization's CSAT performance is also quite low, and they are probably scratching their heads to figure out why that is. The organization in the left-hand graph does not have a quality management focus. The other reason we recommend you measure these three distinct components is that the high performance benchmark targets are much different. Let's look at these. Starting on the right, you are probably not surprised to see a very high target for the compliance attributes, since these could result in legal action. Some may argue that perhaps this target should be higher. In the middle is the high performance benchmark for business critical at 90%. And on the left, there are two benchmarks for customer critical, 98% if you are including only the satisfiers, remember those attributes where more is better, or 95% if you are including the satisfiers and dissatisfier attributes. The other information here that we haven't really introduced yet is that these metrics need to be calculated by unit. What we mean by that is if any one or more of the critical attributes are found to be an error, then the entire transaction or unit fails. Critical attributes are just that. They are critical. And we know that organizations also include non-critical attributes on their quality form. So let's discuss that next. Although the critical attributes are the most important, some organizations also include non-critical attributes on their form. These attributes tend to be annoyances, like misspellings or mispronunciations, or using the customer's name 3 times. And we often refer to these as soft skills. These are much different types of errors than the critical. And one could argue that if enough non-critical errors are made in the same transaction, they could be treated as a critical error. Our advice is to ensure your quality form clearly identifies the critical attributes. Break these down by customer, business, and compliance. And once your organization is performing at those high performance benchmark levels, then you may want to introduce the non-critical attributes. The goal is to focus on the things that matter most. We'd like to leave you with these last 2 slides. Gina and I have, Gina and I have reviewed the best practices for these first 4 diamonds. Let's remember the benefits. Measuring business level performance really helps an organization align the quality results with CSAT and other business measures that help drive performance improvement. Using quality as a listening post helps the quality department be a trusted advisor to the entire organization by providing valuable business intelligence. Understanding the key drivers of business results provides the organization a process focus on the things that matter most to your customers and to the business. And lastly, measuring quality correctly delivers an accurate view of performance to gauge where performance improvement needs to be made. Gina and I are already preparing the next quality webinar to address these last 3 diamonds. In this future webinar, we will discuss how focusing on strong execution of quality processes includes sampling and calibration. Providing actionable data to operations arms them with the information they need to make changes in the business. And the effectiveness of our quality tools will provide additional returns that we haven't had time to discuss today. We find when these 7 quality management processes are in focus, the company's quality program can provide one of the best ROIs in the center and to the overall business. We have worked with clients in various ways to realize these benefits. And here are some of the ways we can work with you to bring these best practices to life in your organization. Let's conduct a quality workshop where we use your company data and practices and compare them to COPC's approach. We train and calibrate with the key stakeholders to enable your organization to improve their processes and ultimately the customer experience. Next, we'll work with your team to design a form with your key drivers and business intelligence that drives improvements that matter most to your organization. and we'll structure the pilot and dive into all the implementation process. We can then perform a quality benchmark where we will evaluate your quality processes and provide you with the results. This would include how your quality program compares to best practices, and will provide you detailed recommendations to ensure your program delivers those desired results. Also, we manage the implementation of the quality program redesign when we work with your team to implement all or parts of your quality program. You decide. Now I'd like to turn it over to James and see what questions he has for us.
Okay, great. Thanks, Cindy and Gina. And as mentioned earlier, everyone, we've got about 10 or 15 minutes for questions and answers. And we've already had quite a few that have come in. Thank you for submitting them. Please feel free to continue to submit them, and we'll do our best to get as many as possible. We certainly will be sharing a link to this later, along with all of the questions that we aren't able to get to. First, we have a question regarding implementing business level monitoring. So for organizations implementing business level monitoring, it sounds like this will require additional resources. Is that true?
Gina, do you want to?
I do. I'd love to answer this.
Sorry.
I love this question, and the answer is it depends, which is the consultant's answer to give, right? But it really does depend, and it's not necessarily so. Oftentimes, people start to hear about business level monitoring, and they get concerned that, oh my goodness, what kind of additional resources? Some organizations, there's different ways to design that, and we'll work with you on your organization needs. But in the past, some organizations create an independent quality department that's responsible for only business level monitoring, and the supervisors conduct the agent level monitoring. Others use a blend where the supervisors supplement the business level monitoring. One thing to point out here around this question is that oftentimes when you transition to the business level approach and monitoring, you actually free up quite a bit of your resources for more additional work. It's a very efficient way to drive performance and utilize those resources in your organization. But we'd be glad to work with you further and explain how this is done. But that's in essence how we do that.
Thanks, Gina.
Yeah.
Okay, many more coming in. Second question I have is, can you say a bit more about business intelligence? Like, do those attributes change frequently?
Gina, you did this section. You want to?
Yeah.
Do this?
Yes. So I love this question, and I'll tell you, recently we deployed we had a global redesign of a pretty large organization, and during that time, and I will get to your answer on this one. during that time, we educated the entire organization about the business level approach. And so we invited the entire organization and shared with them how we're going to use business intelligence. It was probably a 2-hour workshop where we shared with all the different departments, and they walked out and we had 10 different pilots because everyone was very excited to tap into this information. So with that, what we recommend is that first of all, you want to have those attributes in place long enough to capture statistically valid representation of what we're trying to look. So that's the first part. Secondly, there are two ways of handling it. One is we have organizations who have an ad hoc approach, where we have different departments come in, like marketing, to ask questions, or even IT, our user management teams have done that as well. And then we have those that are in the form on an ongoing, longer term basis. It really does depend on which questions we're asking and how we're designing that and what the goals are for that information. But most importantly, I want you to walk away with this, is that we want to make sure that the attributes that we design are there and that they truly represent the information that's driving the change. Because what we don't want is to start driving change on something that is not accurate. Good
Thanks,
question.
Gina. Great, thank you, Gina. Here's another. Can an organization get certified to your standard if they only measure overall quality and not your big three?
Okay. I'll take this one. I guess the short answer is no. The standard really requires organizations to break down quality into these three components. Hopefully you saw that through the graphs we presented, that overall quality is probably not the way to go because you just don't get that granular view. And the three components that are required really do kind of give you some insight into your customers, your business, and your compliance levels. So, those really help us understand where we can make improvements within the business. So.
Great. Thank you, Cindy.
Thanks, James.
You got it. Okay, got a few more here. That key driver survey you talked about sounds difficult to create and time consuming. Do you have recommendations as to whom we could farm that out to?
Sure. Most often, I'll say, most often we find organizations kind of going to market research firms, getting them involved. They're very equipped to help an organization kind of, design the questions, conduct the survey, even analyze the results. They'll really do everything, kind of soup to nuts. The reason I did it with the organization that I gave that, told that story about was just because we honestly at that time didn't know who to reach out to. So we did it on our own. So two ways, but we would say for the most part, folks reach out to a market research firm to get that done.
Great. Okay. Next one is regarding satisfiers and dissatisfiers. You opened my eyes with the satisfiers and dissatisfier attributes and getting my organization focused on satisfiers. How do I prioritize what I work on?
Okay. This is near and dear to my heart. So good. I'm glad you guys got excited about that. I guess we would advise you to ensure the dissatisfiers are meeting that sweet spot that we talked about. Don't ignore those. We would say, starting out first out of the gate, really work on those dissatisfiers to just meet your minimum customer expectations. And then, as I said, kind of leave those alone and then spend the majority of your time improving on the satisfiers, because the satisfiers are going to help drive higher and higher levels of customer satisfaction. But that's how I would prioritize. Get your dissatisfiers up to that minimum bar, and then focus your attention on the satisfiers. I hope that helps.
Thanks, Cindy. Okay, here's another. My organization is very focused on what you call the non-critical attributes, perhaps too many, now that I know what I've learned. What to do?
Yours is not the only organization who is focused on that. Cindy and I can attest, well, all of our COPCers can attest to this. So that's really, it's something that we deal with when we start working with clients, and what we advise is to educate your organization. And we've actually had to, when I've gone in and Cindy and I have gone in and worked and redesigned different quality programs, we've actually had to set aside time to make sure that, number one, we're educating this change, because it is a shift in mindset. It really is. So, so most important is to educate your organization, make sure that they understand the value of improving the critical attributes, and also the return that you get and how powerful that is, just by some of the examples that we shared today. Like the return that you can get on your customer satisfaction, and also just, throughout the entire organization. So hopefully that will help them see some of the importance of shifting from these things that we at one time believed were important to those things that really matter to your customer and to your business as well.